Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, May 28, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this tweet from Craig Setzer. He's actually chief meteorologist at Royal Caribbean Group, and he made a post highlighting the very healthy tropical wave that recently came off the coast of Africa. So it states here in his post, we're knocking on the door to the start of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, and already we have a healthy looking very low latitude tropical wave out there. Shear should keep this from developing, but active waves in June, May are usually not a good sign for the season ahead. Time to start thinking about your pre-hurricane plans. Know what you will do if a hurricane threatens this year. So we can see that this post had a lot of interactions, a lot of feedback on Twitter, and it's quite interesting as well as concerning that such a very healthy looking waves with so much showers and thunderstorm activity recently came off of the coast of Africa. It really has a lot of weather enthusiasts and meteorologists and experts out there talking about how healthy it looks. Can you imagine if this came off in the month of August or September? It would definitely be on its way to developing, but it's May now. We have a lot of wind shear out there, and speaking of wind shear, we can see that definitely still plaguing portions of the Central Caribbean, which explains the lack of rainfall that we experienced today across Jamaica. We were expecting the tropical wave, but we can see the upper level wind shear across the island definitely, destroyed the thunderstorms. We'll be talking more about that later on. Just focus our attention on what the U.S. National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. And as of 7:03 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:03 p.m. Jamaica time, there's nothing to show as there's no tropical cyclone activity expected within the next 7 days. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by that ridge of high pressure that we know is responsible for sending the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see that tropical wave that we just mentioned right there off the coast of Africa to the south of the Cabo Verde Island, and another tropical wave that's bearing down on sections of French Guiana, soon to be Suriname. And we can still see that we have that tropical wave across the Jamaica area. So yes, there is a tropical wave currently moving across the island, but as stated, the upper level wind shear is destroying most of the thunderstorms associated with it, keeping all of that at bay. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images before the sun went down. We can see the upper level winds definitely blowing off all of the thunderstorms associated with the tropical wave off towards the north and the east, definitely destroying it. If we didn't have this wall of wind shear, these thunderstorms would definitely be firing and bring a lot of rainfall to sections of the island as we speak, but it's acting like a shield. So there's still definitely the trough across the Caribbean basin, bringing more of that rainfall off towards the north and the east than anything else. So definitely sections of eastern Cuba, the northern portion of the Dominican Republic gotten some amount of rainfall. And as this tropical wave continues to push westward, it could bring some amount of rainfall to section of the island into Wednesday, maybe even spilling into Thursday as well. Not necessarily everywhere with some ridiculous rainfall as once thought based on what we saw on the models. Taking a look at what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, it was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall, especially during the afternoon across sections of most parishes in Jamaica. And a post was made this morning at 9:40 a.m. highlighting these very clouds. So we're not seeing anything different. The clouds are basically where they've been all day, especially to the south and west of the island. We can even see it all even better on the infrared satellite images. This blob of convection right there to the north of Costa Rica, to the east of Nicaragua, definitely had some bad weather out to sea today, and we still see that thunderstorm is firing up right there to the north of Panama. Definitely bring some bad weather to the water right there. However, although we didn't have much in the way of rainfall across most areas, some persons did pick up on some amount of rainfall. We have Raver XK stating North St. Catherine got rain. We had Second City Engineer stating it fall for about an hour in Mobe. And then finally, we have this comment right here, Mingo Bingley stating rainfall for 2 seconds, then the sun come dry it up. So yes, even although not all areas got rainfall, some persons did indeed pick up some rainfall today. Conceited Macintosh stating we getting some in Hanover. Why the time hot? Nalicia Biggs, one drop a Clarendon after all the overcast. I am so disappointed. And we indeed made mention of the fact that we had a lack of rainfall here on our Twitter page. We posted. We also made the same post on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876, where we posted where the rain where the supercomputer miles them said it go fall today. Them over we in Jamaica. That's why it's hot and cloudy all day. It look like little rainfall at Hanover though. Them blessed. So we definitely saw those sparkling white dots right there across the northwestern portion of the island. So sections of Hanover and even sections of St. James later on picked up on some amount of rainfall. Usually wherever we see the sparkling white dots, that's where we indicate, some thunderstorms taking place. And wherever there's thunderstorms, there's usually some amount of rainfall. And we just had the confirmation from some of our followers on our Facebook page. Let's see if we have any more comments on our Instagram page. We have Kel_Trisha stating Reindeer Linstead, far off, no worry. Born_fighter_Taurus stating Montego Bay got some. Even over here we have Shen_Nay17 stating St. Thomas, you get little rain from about 11 a.m. for about 2 minutes, if not so much. I am Den77 stating yes, we got some in Hanover. So that indeed confirms the rainfall in some spots. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can definitely see where we had that low level flow of clouds coming in more so from the southeast and pushing to the northwest. So we definitely had some amount of maybe low level clouds building to cumulonimbus, well, at least mid level cloud status. Bring more and we have some isolated showers sections of some northern and western parishes. And we saw those high cold cloud tops being blown out towards the northeast, all courtesy of the upper level wind shear. If we take a look at the infrared satellite images right now, as a matter of fact, let's reload these images so that we have the latest. So we can see those sparkling white dots that indicate the thunderstorm activity off towards the west. Some of it's still taking place right there off the coast of Negril, maybe even affecting Negril as we speak. Who knows? Let's check out the Cuban Doppler radar images. If you don't know by now, we have to be depending on the Cuban Doppler radar because the Jamaican radar has been done for a couple of years now. Hopefully they sort out the issue soon. And usually when this Cuban Doppler radar is out, I have to be depending on the Guantanamo Bay radar set up at the prison there. That's the US Navy radar, but it only shows more so the northeastern portion of the island, so more so Portland and eastern St. Thomas than anything else. And I have to depend on the Cayman radar that shows the western half of Jamaica, so I have to make with what we have close by. Hopefully our Doppler radars are sorted out soon, so we can definitely see that as of the latest Cuban Doppler radar image at about 8:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7:51 p.m. Jamaica time, we can see that we indeed have some amount of rainfall as represented by these greens and yellow colors that represent light to moderate, even some slight heavy rainfall off the west coast of the island, so maybe even affecting coastal areas of Negril, right there off to the west of Hanover and Westmoreland. Some rainfall associated with the tropical wave off towards the south of the island. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what unfolds tomorrow. We know how these tropical waves interacting with these troughs can be very unpredictable. Maybe we get rainfall, maybe we don't at all. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And we do see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight yellows and slight goldish colors that represent 1 to even 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of May are about the same as 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me take a look at the thermometer. 89 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 31 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Wednesday. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can see that yes, we indeed have more so and do have blues across portions of the Caribbean than anything else. Jamaica right here, we know the blues represent moist air. We don't want to see the yellows, the oranges, and the reds that represent dry air at all. We can see all of the dry air across portions of the waters to the east of the United States, as well as across the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, not to mention across the Mediterranean region right there off the northwestern coast of Africa. We don't want any dry air at all. We want the air to be as moist as possible. We need the rainfall right now. But as it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we can definitely see the browns represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the Mediterranean region into the Caribbean. And all of this is definitely pushing westward, and we see those darker shades of browns that represent the vigorous plume across the Mediterranean region. All of this is pushing westward. It's going to be bringing hazy skies, if not triggering some amount of asthma or maybe sinusitis issues in some people. We don't want to see that at all. And Jamaica is going to be right here starting to get in on it by about 2 p.m. on Wednesday. So we might see the hazy skies. That's if the tropical wave is not bringing rainfall to the island. Hazy skies. Hopefully you guys are, walking with your meds tomorrow just in case. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we still see that most of the north coast of the island should be getting in on those lighter shades of blues that represent 0.5 meter wave heights, while the east to the southern side of the island should be getting in on those darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represents anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights. And that's because the usual winds are gonna be stronger on the south coast, where we see those brighter greens that represent anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe even gusting to 20 knots. And we see more of those bluish colors with some slight greens that represent anywhere from 5 to 10, maybe even gusting to 15 knots. But we can definitely see that the general direction across the island should be from the east. As it relates to the wind shear forecast, we're starting to break up on the trough. We had that very strong southwesterly flow across the Caribbean for the past week, but I believe the tropical wave is definitely trying to do something to it. The atmosphere is trying to change, the weather pattern is trying to change, but we still have that southwesterly flow. It's not as strong as it was earlier in the week or in last week, but we know what usually happens. Whichever side of the island the upper level wind shear blows, that's the side of the island that could receive more in the way of that overcast skies or isolated shores. So there might be a bias for some more of that rainfall across sections of northern Jamaica than anything else. So sections of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, and Hanover definitely could receive that afternoon rainfall more than the south coast for tomorrow. And let us take a look at the rainfall maps. Let us, take these forecasts with a grain of salt, because we saw what they showed yesterday, and that definitely did not happen, more so across northwestern Jamaica than anything else. But look at what they're showing now. This map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are both showing 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 5 a.m. Jamaica time. And where do we see the blues? They represent rainfall across eastern parishes in Jamaica. So maybe the eastern portions of St. Thomas and Portland might get in somewhat of rainfall. That's just the forecast. We shall see if it actually verifies, and I'll be here to keep you posted at that time. Skipping ahead now to about 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time. We can see that we still have those blues that represent rainfall. GFS quite different from the Euro. GFS showing more of those blues that represent rainfall across Portland, while the Euro is showing more of those blues that represent rainfall across sections of St. Thomas. We'll see how that goes. Either way, it's still looking like Eastern Jamaica could be getting in on that rainfall again. Then, by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we see some differences and some consensus. The Euro right here, showing the blues that represent rainfall across, more so across sections of some eastern and central parishes. The GFS showing more of that rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, the consensus is for rainfall across central parishes in Jamaica. And as it relates to the accumulated precipitation forecast maps, keep in mind that both of these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing the rainfall totals from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. And we can see that somewhere in Jamaica is going to be receiving rainfall within the next 24 hours. Euro a bit different from the GFS in terms of rainfall totals, showing up to 0.54 of an inch of rainfall across eastern Jamaica. GFS only showing up to at least 0.22 of an inch of rainfall across eastern Jamaica. Either way, we're indeed grateful. It's going to be raining somewhere across the island tomorrow. As usual, we receive up to 213.05 millimeters of rainfall during the month of May. That's almost 9 inches of rainfall. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get, as little as it may be, to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have the clouds associated with the tropical wave still bring some overcast skies and rainfall to sections of eastern Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, section of Puerto Rico, especially right there to the north of Panama, to the northeast of Costa Rica, to the east of Nicaragua. There's definitely some amount of rainfall out towards the southeast of the island, but as stated, the upper level wind shear is definitely destroying these thunderstorms, which is prohibiting us from getting the rainfall that we really need. If we also take a look, we can see some thunderstorm activity associated with the tropical wave, bringing some amount of rainfall to sections of French Guiana, Suriname, and Guyana, not to mention sections of Venezuela, as usual, and Colombia. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we can see that yes, we indeed picked up on some amount of rainfall today. As a matter of fact, this is the latest image, showing that we definitely have some amount of rainfall affecting sections of northern Puerto Rico, northwestern Puerto Rico, some rainfall affecting northeastern the Dominican Republic right there. Nothing much happening across most of the Leeward Islands at all. But if we put these Doppler radar images into motion from about 2 p.m. today, we can definitely see where we had that rainfall, some hit or miss isolated showers across sections of Guadeloupe, some of that rainfall across sections of Puerto Rico, especially northwestern Puerto Rico, definitely got in on that rainfall. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see that there's not much happening across Barbados right now. Hold on, let me reload these images. Let me have the latest. Alright, so we see some hit or miss isolated showers pushing in from east to west across Barbados. So they've definitely been getting in on some sprinkles here and there. We can also see that we have some amount of rainfall to the north and west of there, heading into portions of St. Lucia, maybe even clipping southern Martinique tonight. Section of St. Vincent and the Grenadines getting in on some amount of rainfall, especially St. Vincent. We can also see some rain bands right there to the south of Barbados. Maybe, possibly pushing westward to affect sections of Trinidad and Tobago. If we take a look at the weather via Doppler radar images, we can see that yes, we have some amount of rainfall right there off the southeastern coast of Florida, and we can also see some rainfall across sections of Guatemala, Honduras, more so southwestern Honduras than anything else, sections of Colombia, and we can also see that rainfall that we just mentioned that we saw in the satellite images for sections of French Guiana, as they are affected by that tropical wave. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, clearly we still have that above normal temperature to be experienced across portions of the Caribbean, but we see a mixture of those grades that represent average temperatures, and we're indeed grateful for that. They're going to be grateful across the Eastern Caribbean. Average temperatures is way better than the above normal temperatures that we know are represented by the yellows, the oranges, the reds. We don't want the warm temperatures at all. We can see all of that being represented by the key on the right. Still having that very warm temperatures across sections of Mexico. I hope that they're all, staying hydrated and staying out of the sun. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we can see all the browns that represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way across the mid-development region into even the western Caribbean right there. But we see that very dark shade of brown across the main development region. But we know all of that is pushing westward across the Caribbean. So the Eastern Caribbean definitely going to be feeling that even more, limiting visibility, bringing more in the way of hazy skies. We can see some of that definitely making its way into portions of the Western Caribbean tomorrow as well. So ensure that you have your meds ready just in case your asthma or your sinusitis acts up. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus in the fact that majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on those lighter shades of blues to darker shades of blues. Even some purples in there, especially to the far south of Jamaica, that represent up to 2 meter wave height. The lighter shades of blues to darker shades of blues, we all know, represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights to at least 1.5 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are gonna be somewhat strong. The bluish greens, or the blues actually, gusting anywhere from 5 to 10 knots, maybe even to 50 knots. The brighter greens, 20 knots, while the yellows that we saw to the far south of Jamaica representing 25 knots. So it makes sense that wherever we have the highest winds, that's where we're going to be having the highest waves. Well, let's talk rainfall now. Let us look at where both the Euro and the GFS malls are forecasting rainfall within the next 24 hours. We know that when they're showing something similar, it increases the chances of the rain actually coming. And we see that they are both showing rainfall for sections of southeastern Cuba again, section of Jamaica, section of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of Puerto Rico might get in on some of that. We can also see some of these greens and yellows across sections of the Leeward and Windward Islands. So maybe section of Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Bart's, section of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, maybe even spilling into sections of Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, more so southern and western Venezuela than anything else. Not so much the ABC Islands at all, but we do see that rainfall in store for sections of Colombia, Panama, definitely section of Costa Rica where we see all of these purples, so they are definitely getting affected by the blob of showers and thunderstorms. And we can also see that eastern Nicaragua, sections of Honduras, El Salvador and southern Guatemala are going to be picking up on some amount of rainfall. I know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS malls are showing something similar like this, the chances of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.